Credit cards are a great financial tool, and the benefits, if used responsibly, can be great. One of the best perks is being able to book flights and travel for very little out of your own pocket. In fact, over the past few years, we've saved tens of thousands of dollars by using reward points instead of paying cash for flights. And now that summer is around the corner, you're probably planning a trip or two, and you're thinking, how do I use points to save some of that hard-earned cash that I have? Now, where to begin? First, understand that there are two main types of credit card rewards. There's travel rewards and then there's cashback. Cashback is exactly like it sounds. It's cashback that you get for everyday spending. Usually it's 1%. And then within travel rewards, you've got airline travel rewards, so for flights, and then you've also got hotel rewards, so you can book hotels with that. In this video, we'll focus mostly on travel rewards because I think that's where you get your most bang for your buck. And if you're just starting out with travel rewards, flights are a great place to start. And then as you get more advanced, then you can get into hotel rewards as well. Now you're probably here because you want to get into travel rewards. And you've seen all the videos on Instagram and TikTok of all these people traveling for free in business class and first class. But let's peel back the onion a little bit first. First, to maximize your points, it actually requires quite a bit of work and planning. For example, you could find a flight that's 50,000 points on one reward program, but the same flight could be 100,000 on another reward program. And it's one of the reasons why travel rewards are more valuable than cashback, because you actually have to put in work for these travel rewards. Versus cashback, it's 1%, it's passive, you don't have to do anything for it. The second thing is there's a lot of rules behind how you use your rewards. So for example, in Canada, one of the most prominent reward programs is Aeroplan, and it's actually my favorite as well. And if you're using Aeroplan to book Air Canada flights, because they have a partnership, they use a market fare approach. So what that means is if the flight costs, let's say $5,000, you might end up paying $500,000 in points for that same flight. But let's say that flight only costs $2,000, then you might only pay, let's say, $200,000 in points. But if you're not using Air Canada, let's say you're flying with a different airline like Etihad or United, then the way they structure the program is it's based on a fixed number of points. So depending on how far you're traveling, they'll charge a certain amount regardless of how much the actual ticket costs. So for example, let's say you're booking a business class flight from Toronto to Dubai on Etihad. Let's say that flight costs $5,000, but because they are not Air Canada but are a travel partner with Aeroplan, you might only end up paying $100,000 in points. Versus if you tried to book that same flight on Air Canada, it might be way more. So again, understanding these nuances, which takes time and digging into, but can be really fruitful in the end. So we've talked about the number of points and how it varies, but let's also talk about availability. So depending on the flight that you're trying to book, it might be very difficult to actually find availability. So one of the flights that I was trying to book recently was flying from North America to Japan on ANA, and their first class product is actually one of the best first class seats available in the world. But finding availability for that was another story. There's only a few seats available and you have to book way in advance. In fact, we were looking and over a 6-month period, there was only one seat available. So yeah, very difficult. And that's the other thing with travel points is you generally have to be more flexible. So either booking way in advance, like up to a year in advance, or super last minute, like the week of. Especially if you want to get some of the best deals, that's what you have to do. And the influencers that you're seeing online that are talking about travel rewards, that's often what they're doing as well. They've booked these flights either way in advance or they've booked them super last minute. Also, the route that you take also matters. So for example, let's say you're flying from here to, let's say, Dubai. Now you could fly Air Canada direct. That's one option. Another option, let's say you really want to fly on Emirates first class. That'll be really hard to find, but what most people will do is they'll take a layover. So they might fly Emirates from, let's say, Dubai to Germany, and then from Germany they'll take a different flight to get to Toronto. Now you have to balance out, do you want the convenience factor of being able to book direct, or are you okay having that layover and taking a longer flight because you've got that layover to experience first class on Emirates? So that's something you have to think about when you want to book with points, and that's a personal preference. Now you can sometimes find those flights that are direct, so you might be able to find Emirates that is from Toronto to Dubai, direct, first class, but again, that's gonna be really difficult. And I'm saying this not to discourage you, but to share my experiences with travel rewards. Yes, it's been very fruitful, but at the same time, there are limitations, and I wanna make sure that you're aware of them. Because when you see all these influencers and they're booking these flights that are thousands of dollars and they pay like 30 bucks for it, you're like, I wanna do that too. It's possible, but it is hard and it does require work. And going off of that, you can't use points to fly everywhere. So for Iceland, which is really hard to find on points, or it makes you go some crazy route. For example, I think I found one that was going from Toronto to somewhere in Europe. I think it was like France, and then from there to Iceland. I'm like, I'd rather just fly direct at that point and pay out of pocket. And then the other thing is you can't really save up points for many, many years. And the reason for that is because reward programs change all the time. So let's say today you're trying to book a flight and it's 100,000 points, but if you don't have enough and you have to save for another few years, by the time you're able to redeem those points, that same flight might be 150,000 points. So the best advice is to find out what trip you want to make, what program is going to get you there, and how many points you need, and then figure out a plan to get those points as soon as you can. Okay, so we've gone through some of the ins and outs of reward programs. Now, how do you actually collect them? The biggest bang for your buck is going to be when you get a new card and you get that sign-up bonus. That's usually when you get a massive number of points. Depending on the credit card, it could be like 50,000 points, 60,000, sometimes even 100,000 points. And you usually have to spend a certain amount of money within the first couple of months. So sometimes it can be $1,000 in 3 months. Sometimes it's as high as $6,000 in 6 months. And generally, the higher the bonus points you're getting, the higher the amount that you're gonna have to spend. So if you've got a card that's giving you 100,000 bonus points, generally you'll probably have to spend $5,000 or $6,000 within 3 months to get that bonus points. Now, when you're thinking about getting your credit card, you want to line it up with a big purchase so you can take advantage of those bonus points. So for example, if you've got a big renovation coming up, a wedding, a big purchase like furniture or a new laptop, that's a good time to sign up for this new credit card so that you can line up your purchases with getting those bonus points and you're not spending extra to get those bonuses. Now, when it comes to which credit card you choose, you also want to think about where you spend your money. So different credit cards will have different categories where they give you more points. So for example, some cards might give you extra rewards in like travel or gas or hotels. So depending on what you spend your money on, you want to get a card where you can get those bonus points in those categories. Also, keep in mind that most of these cards will have annual fees. Now, don't be alarmed when you do see an annual fee of $100 or $200. That's quite normal for a premium travel reward card, and you definitely do get value for your money there. But just because a card has a higher annual fee, let's say if it's $600 or $700, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to give you access to more features or more points. Doesn't mean you're going to have better access to first class products. Another benefit of most of these premium credit cards is going to be their insurance coverage. Now, I won't go into too much detail into them because they're pretty standard between these credit cards. And then also, while you're choosing a credit card, you're often not going to be making your final decision based on the insurance coverage. But some of these coverages can include travel insurance, cell phone protection plan, rental car insurance, and definitely lots of value in that. I've gotten $800 back for a phone I had to replace. I've gotten $500 back for a laptop I needed to get fixed. And I haven't had to pay for car insurance when renting a car for basically ever since I've had a credit card. Otherwise, I think they charge like $25 a day if you get it from the rental company, which is just crazy. Okay, so what are the best 3 cards out there right now? So the first one is going to be the American Express Cobalt card. Now, this isn't a card that I've used in the past, but I've heard great things about it. And it's got some great ways to collect points. The first is you get 5 times the points on groceries, food delivery, and restaurants. You get 3 times the points on streaming services, so for example, Netflix or Disney Plus, and then you get 2 times the points on gas and travel. So that's a good amount of points for some major categories. On top of that, the card has a $12.99 monthly fee, so if you prefer to pay monthly instead of one big lump sum of $150 for your credit card, is also a great benefit for cash flow. And the best part about this card is that you can use it to transfer your points to Aeroplan and then redeem them on Aeroplan for travel rewards. You can also use the card to pay off your bill if you wanted, even though it's generally not much value, pretty similar to other cashback cards of 1%. So if your biggest expense is groceries or food delivery, then this is a great card in my opinion. Before we get to the next card, I wanted to take a moment to talk about the different programs that are available in Canada. So your main ones are going to be Aeroplan, American Express membership rewards, and Air Miles. Now, Air Miles is my least favorite because of how difficult it is to collect and redeem points. I've been collecting Air Miles for years, and I still haven't been able to collect enough to actually redeem it for anything. And that's because of how hard it is to collect points. You can't really collect them everywhere unless you've got a specific Air Miles credit card, and even those I find the value really isn't that great, especially when you compare it to an American Express or Aeroplan. And then you've also got reward points from banks like TD Travel Rewards, and CIBC has their own as well, but I find that they're generally low value, especially if you want to redeem points for a cool experience like business class or first class. Then I think you definitely need to stick with Aeroplan or American Express. Now, my second favorite card, and one that I use quite regularly, is the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite card. I find this one's the easiest to use because you literally just go online, apply, and they set you up with an Aeroplan account number as well, and it's really easy to set up. And they have different tiers as well, which is useful as well. So TD has one that's like $89 a year. They've got one that's $139. They've also got one that's $599, so super premium if you travel a lot. And if you're with CIBC, they've got similar products, and I recommend those as well. I've used them before as well. And they actually have one that's $0, which I think should be a staple for everyone. Especially if you're new and starting out, like having that $0 card is super helpful. Now, the downside to the TD and CIBC cards is they generally only give you 1 or 1.5 point per dollar spent. So you don't get the bonus points like you do on the Cobalt card, like where you get 5 times the points on groceries, for example. So there's definitely less ways to get points, but because of how simple it is, I highly recommend it. Now, my favorite card, the one I recommend the most, is the American Express Gold card. Now, I feel this card isn't talked about as much because everyone's focused more on the Platinum card. It's fancier and more expensive, but it's regular point versus the Gold card, which gives you 2 times the points on flights, hotels, car rentals, gas, grocery stores, and drugstores. So there's a lot more way that you can collect points using the Gold card, and I think for the everyday person, you'll get more value in that card. And then the best part, my favorite part about the American Express Gold card, is how easy it is to transfer to different reward programs. So you can transfer to different programs like Aeroplan, and even hotel reward programs like Marriott Bonvoy. So again, this card gives you so much flexibility, and if you could only have one card, this is the one that I would recommend the most. It's my favorite card, my go-to every single day. So go get that Gold card. All right, so those are the top 3 cards. Let me know in the comments below which one you're gonna go and get. I hope you found this video helpful in understanding the different travel reward options out there. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or you want me to dig into more detail on something. And even if you don't get one of these travel reward cards, at the very least get a cashback card, because otherwise you're just leaving money on the table. Now, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.